Saturday morning, January 17th, 1977, my two sisters and my mom, since the divorce was final, we packed our bags and moved to sunny Southern California. It was a shock at first when my mom said, "This is the day, let's get up, we're moving." I didn't want to leave. I just started junior high in Battle Creek, Michigan for a Northwestern Junior High School for a couple of months. And then we had to just tear out and leave. We lived with my fabulous, wonderful, awesome Aunt Pearl, my mother's oldest sister. And she let us stay with her at 2018 West 97th Street, 97th Street in Cimarron. I'll never forget it because it was a big city and I had to remember, like, how do you get home from here when I'd go ride off on my bike? Like, how do you get home? In fact, I was scared to leave the street. I was afraid to ride off, and because I thought I'd get lost. I did get lost a few times, but they would always say, once you get to Van Ness Boulevard, just go east a little. So I stayed on my street a lot. In fact, 2 doors down from us lived a young lady named Daphne. Well, she wasn't a young lady then, she was like 5 years old. And later on in the years to come, little did I know she would become Keenan Ivory Wayans' wife, and he'd have children with her, Daphne. I learned that years and years ago. I said, wow, she used to live 2 doors from me. But I did eventually wander off, and one day I met a group of kids. I walked a couple of blocks over to 99th Street, and I met a group of kids, and it was about 10 of them. And Ray, Ronald, Harold, Debbie, Esther, Kenny, Bucky, it was like 10 of them. And they act a little weird towards me at first, but eventually they all seemed to embrace me. And I started like hanging with them. But I really miss my friend Dale, my good friend Dale Gills. I missed him. He was like the love of my life as a little boy. We got into so much stuff together, and we were always together. Whenever you'd see one, you would definitely see the other. We'd dress alike. We had our old man hats we'd wear, and the overalls and the whole thing that we'd wear. And just for many years, I met him, I think he was in the 3rd grade. We were in the 3rd grade when we met. And I just had he was like my brother. He was a brother from another mother, as they call it. My new friends, one of them, Harold, I ended up going to Horace Mann Junior High with him in South Central. And boy, that was some kind of school. Daryl Strawberry, in fact, Major League Hall of Famer Daryl Strawberry, he went to Horace Mann Junior High also. Big basketball standout, of course, baseball standout. He was a couple of years older than me, but he moved on and went to Crenshaw High. He played basketball there because Daryl was like 6'5", and he could have gone either way, basketball or baseball. But that's the great Hall of Famer Daryl Strawberry. Went to Horace Mann Junior High as well. But the crazy thing with Horace Mann Junior High is that there was always these gang wars between the rolling 60s and the 8 trade gangsters. And I moved to LA. I did not know what a Crip was. It's like, what's a Crip? I mean, isn't that like, I'd be with my friends and they say, look at that, man, that's a rolling 60s Crip. And I'd be like, I'm like, where's their cane? Don't they have a cane? Where's the cane, right? But there was this most feared Crip, Stanley Tookie Williams. And my friends used to say, man, if you ever see in the hood a big buff dude, big buff black dude, and his biceps are as big as both of your legs put together, just run. Just start running, man. It's Tookie. I'm not talking about baby Tookie, because there was like a baby Tookie too. They said, no, this is the real Tookie, man. And he'll rip your head off, so you just run, right? And I was like, oh gosh, I had no idea. You gotta just start running when you see certain people. So that was the most feared person on the streets. The second most feared was Monster Cody. Oh boy, Monster, K-O-D-Y. And boy, I had an encounter with him and I was scared out of my mind. Monster Cody was known as a person that would he would just wander around the neighborhood where he felt safe. And the innocent, he would take their money, take their dirt bike. So one day we're on our way to school and I'm at Florence and Western. And my friend Harold just breaks out and starts running. He's like, come on, man, run. It's Monster Cody. It's Monster Cody, run. And Harold just took off and I didn't run fast enough. And he caught me and he was like, come here. I said, come here, right? And I walked back over to him and he said, how much money you got? And I said, oh man, I only got 15 cents. And I went to my pocket, grabbed my little 15 cents out and I gave it to him. And he said, you see my knuckles? And his knuckles were all beat up and bloody and everything. He said, you see my knuckles? And he cursed at me. He said, I just, said some expletive, right? This fool up for this, right? He took the bike from the kid and he was looking at me and I was like terrified. And he said, where are you from? And I said, well, I'm originally from Battle Creek, Michigan. And he looked at me. He said, you got any more money? I said, no, I don't have any more money, right? I was so terrified. And he said, now get on, right? And then he didn't punch me, but he nudged me away with his fist. And I ran to try to keep up with my friend and catch up with him. And I'm breathing all heavy and I'm wishing my brother was here. And I'm like, oh, if my big brother Mitch was here, he would kill him, this kind of thing. And I was terrified because remember, I'm just a 12-year-old little skinny boy from farm country. What do I know about running from school and home from school and to school because some gang members are gonna jump you? Now, why would they want to do that, right? I don't even know them. I could see if I had an issue with someone at school. So that was really, really something for me when I first moved to Los Angeles. Several months later, about 6 months later or so, my mom did get her own place. We moved out of my Aunt Pearl's and we moved to the fabulous city of Inglewood. Well, I'm supposed to say it like this, Inglewood, that's where we moved. We moved to Inglewood, home of the fabulous Forum and Randy's Donuts. My mom had gotten us a 2-bedroom apartment. She got a job at TRW. It's part of the aerospace industry. And we lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment, very, very living by modest means, that's for sure. And my mom did the best that she could to provide for us and take care of us. My sisters took the bedroom, of course my mom took the bedroom, and I had to sleep on the couch. And I'll never forget because we didn't have a shower, we had a bathtub. And we had to get the curtain rod up there and we hoisted a curtain rod. And the way we actually showered, because we didn't take a bath, we actually would take a big green cup. I'll never forget that cup. We took a big green cup and we would rinse, fill up the cup, rinse, soap up the rag, soap up yourself, right? And then rinse off with the cup. Yeah. And so that's how we had to take a shower because the unit that we moved into did not have a shower. So I'll never forget the green cup days. To make extra money, I used to work at, I didn't officially work there, but I used to there was a grocery store named Alpha Beta. And my mom had suggested, she came home one day and she said, I saw this little girl outside of Alpha Beta about 15 minutes from where we were living on Arbor Vitae Street. And she said, she's helping people with their groceries. You need to do that. Just approach the ladies and ask them, hey, can I take your groceries to the car? And she said, you need to do that. You can make extra money. And I didn't feel like it. I was, oh man. But I started doing it. And minimum wage in 1977 was $2.30, I believe. And some nights I'd come home from anywhere from $7 to $30. Some nights I would actually put in 2-3 hours. I'd make $30 helping ladies with their groceries. Some would give me $2, some would give me 50 cents. So that was pretty special, because my mom said, you know, if you want things above and beyond what I can supply for you, if you want them Nike shoes, if you want them special pair of pants or whatever, you're gonna have to work. You're gonna have to work for it. And she took some of the money too when I'd come home. She said, how much you make? And I said, I only made $5 tonight. Sometimes I would fib a little. I'd make 15, but I'd tell her I only made 8. And then sometimes she would take half of it. I mean, I didn't understand back then the struggle of a single parent, especially a black woman, especially again in Los Angeles, as challenging as that was back then. As a kid, I just didn't get it. So, but I look back and have fond memories of those times. I mean, again, some nights I'd make $20, $25, $30, and that was all right for a 13-year-old kid. Late summer 1979, we moved 30 minutes south to Carson, California. And I went to Curtis Junior High School. And Curtis Junior High, wow, in Carson. And it's like I had to start all over again, finding friends, all over again. I didn't know anyone. And my friends, the 10 friends I had met on 99th Street when I was living with Aunt Pearl, I mean, we just kind of separated because they moved on with their life, and some of them moved later and all that. And it's like, wow, I got to find friends all over again. And I was usually used to attracting friends to me anyway. Some people would just come up, even at Horace Mann, hey, what's your name? I'm Mike, I'm new to this school, and people would befriend me. But at Curtis, it seems like I repelled them away from me. It's like they didn't want to make friends with me. I remember I used to see groups of children walking to school on a certain path that was like a shortcut, but I'd walk all the way around. So whereas it would take them 20 minutes to get to school, it used to take me an hour to get to school. Because I'd go out on Avalon Boulevard, then to Del Amo, then to Central. I'd take the long way around. And I was telling a friend of mine, Roderick, one time, and he was laughing at me. He's like, man, you take the long way around. You crazy, man. Didn't you know it would only take you 20 minutes? But Curtis Junior High, boy, they had the finest little young girls there. I hadn't seen no fine women like that. Well, Horace Mann did have some cuties, right? But Curtis, oh man. And they used to have this thing called sports night. Sports night. I only went once because I didn't know anyone, and I really didn't have the clothes. So I missed a lot of those events, and people would talk about, man, sports night this Friday, we're gonna get down, we're gonna have fun, them girls and all this and that. But I was too afraid to go, scared to dance. And I just didn't have, I didn't have the clothes either. It's like my mother's boyfriend used to have his clothes in our closet, and I used to steal his clothes. For certain events, certain dress-up events, I would steal his clothes. Like sometime I go to school and my shirts would be too big. You could always tell the shirt collar would be like too big, because I'd go in the closet, steal his pants and steal his shirts, because he had nice pants, nice slacks, nice shirts. I mean, I couldn't afford to buy that stuff, but I used to steal his clothes. I would cinch up the belt real tight and wear the shirt untucked. And then that way you can't see that I got bunches of fabric around my waist. And then the shirts, I'd roll up the sleeves and just kind of work it a little bit. And that was interesting time back then. Stealing my mother's boyfriend's clothes, Elmo. He was a sweet man. And my mom in Carson, she got me a job at Henry's Market. It was under the table, but she talked to the two brothers, Hank and Frank, and they hired me, but under the table, and I'm 15 at the time. And they just said, well, we can't hire him legally because he's not really legal to work at his age right now, but we'll let him come on in. He can sweep up, he can stock, he can work in the freezer and refrigerator, and that was a blessing, but I was too immature to handle that. They actually had to let me go because I was an awful young man at that time. And some would say, oh no, you were a terrible child because your dad abused you when you were growing up. I don't know. I just think I was a sinful young boy. That's all. I mean, the abuse of my dad and that stuff was horrible. But still, there was a part of me that was just sinful. And so I did so much crazy stuff there at Henry's Market on Avalon Boulevard in Carson that they just had to let me go. They called me into the office and they just said some things are happening around here, and they didn't start happening until we hired you. We noticed. And so, we're gonna have to let you go. And that was that. So that was officially my first job. They didn't pay me a paycheck, but they, again, paid me cash under the table. But, little Mikey just had to learn how to grow up. A few months later, I started high school, and my life was about to take a major drastic turn, just from some decision I made. And but even before then, in the interim of moving from Inglewood to Carson, that late summer, I think it was, it was 79. I was on my way back from Michigan on a little trip, and I learned that some shocking news about my dad that would, it's like really a trip. It was like life-changing, shocking news about my dad that would change the way I felt about him and I viewed him for the rest of my life.